We want to change the current alcohol probation system because it focuses on punishment rather than rehabilitation. As it stands, the program relies on transactional leadership, the coercive base of power, and lacks inspiring a self-policing ethic among the wing. Our proposed changes consist of replacing a number of tours with cadet service leadership hours and increasing the mentorship aspect of the system to transition to transformational leadership and referent power. The current alcohol probation system is composed of tours and mentoring with a permanent party member. Its purpose is to discourage and punish alcohol-related incidents with a small focus on rehabilitating cadets. To achieve this goal, the system mainly relies on tours to punish the cadet and as the mechanism to discourage further unacceptable behavior. The mentoring sessions are the mechanism of rehabilitation, which should be the rehabilitative aspect since this requires cadets to internalize the values of the academy and officership. The problems with the current system arise from its foundation in transactional leadership, coercive base of power, and not encouraging the self-policing ethic, the principle of the profession of arms, among the wing. Transactional leadership promotes specific behaviors through the exchange of rewards and punishments. Tours are punishment, hence this form of leadership is founded on the coercive base of power, which is a leader's ability to influence followers through threatening negative consequences. Coercive power, and therefore transactional leadership, at best results in compliance from subordinates, but can also result in resistance, yet the goal of the system should be commitment. Resistance occurs when a follower does not want to perform the action and seeks to avoid doing it. Compliance consists of a follower that apathetically carries out the requested action, and commitment is displayed when a follower internally agrees with an action, is enthusiastic about it, and demonstrates unusual effort and initiative to successfully complete it. Lastly, without encouraging the internalization of the academy and officership values, cadets are less likely to exhibit behavior consistent with these values, such as a self-policing ethic. This theoretical analysis is supported by our interviews and survey data.
In order to decide the changes that needed to be made to the system, our team determined that the best way to change the current system for the betterment of the entire cadet wing would be to ask the cadet wing through surveys and interviews. We asked many of the interviewees what their opinion of the current system in place was. The first interview shows the Cadet Wing Director of Operations, Pat Boyle, describing his views on the current alcohol probation process. After him, Major Mo, Cadet Squadron 9's AOC, discusses the topic more in depth in terms of the goals of the current system and how the Cadet Wing might be hoping for rehabilitation while enforcing mainly punishment.
Sir, how do you feel about the current alcohol probation system?
I think there's some room for improvement. Currently, if you get in trouble for an alcohol incident, there's an elephant walk, as we call it, where you end up in the commandant's office. He kind of talks to you about how your decisions and your choices affected everyone else around you, and then you end up marching a lot of tours and sitting some confinements. I think there's some definite room for improvement and some areas that we can look to change to make this more meaningful for those on probation and more meaningful to the community and those that are affected.
So I certainly think there's a combination of punishment and rehabilitation, and I think that's appropriate with the type of offense that we're dealing with, although I would like to err a little bit on the side of rehabilitation. The tours aspect, I see that as being more on the punishment side. So I see some value in doing tours up front and getting that initial punishment down, but then moving on to more of a rehabilitation aspect of the progression on the probation, and giving the cadet a chance to maybe give back and let others learn from their mistakes.
The poll results demonstrated to our group that the overwhelming majority of cadets in the wing do not believe in the current alcohol probation system.
This is clear through the interviews, but also through the surveys and the data that they obtained. We found that 0% of cadets who had been through the probation process thought that tours were a beneficial use of their time or part of the process. Furthermore, out of cadets who had not been on probation, we found that only 1.2% of cadets thought the tours were a good use of our time. The next interview shows C2C Luke Leathers, a cadet who has been through the alcohol probation process during his freshman year, and he will discuss his feelings about the success of tours and the alcohol probation process.
Usually with alcohol hits, it's just marching tours. It can be confinements. I had 95 tours. I had to march. I feel as though this part of the probation is not very helpful in rehabilitating offenders or teaching them right for wrong. It's really just to waste your time and kind of like show how much trouble you are to the rest of the school for doing something. And I feel like there's a lot of improvement that could be made with the probation system.
Our poll results and interviews with cadets who have recently been on probation exposed a major failure in the current system to rehabilitate cadets. An astonishing 73% of probation cadets said they committed the same act that put them on probation in the first place. In addition, 44% of all cadets have seen alcohol in the dorms at some point in their cadet career. Additionally, 16% of all cadets admitted to storing alcohol in their dorm rooms or personally owned vehicles. From this data, our team came to the conclusion that there are many more effective and beneficial avenues to be taken for the alcohol probation process that maximize rehabilitation while minimizing punishment. The current transactional system is not working and isn't even producing the best outcome of compliance, but instead is producing resistance.
Based on this conclusion, our group felt that the best way to benefit the cadet wing would be to assess how the cadet wing would respond to the changes we are proposing for the alcohol probation process. This next interview expresses one cadet's views on community service and how it was beneficial for him.
Outside of the academy, I also got punishment by the state of Colorado, and I had to be on probation for a year. I had to be on probation from a half a year from the incident, and I also had to do community service for the state of Colorado, and I thought this was a much better program than marching tours, because doing community service kind of gave you the same, like, think about your thoughts, why am I here, why am I required to do this, but at the same time you could like see that you're making a difference and a positive influence. You could see like how decisions influence other people and how I made bad decisions, and that got me to my current position, and how I can be doing good decisions and helping others. So
through the surveys, we found that 73.9% of probation cadets would have preferred CSL hours to marching tours. This data is further supported by the survey of general cadets, which stated that 84% of these cadets believe that CSL hours are a better alternative to tours.
Our proposal will focus on implementing changes that aim to move the current system from a transactional leadership-based system to one founded in transformational leadership. Instead of leading through the exchange of reward or punishment, we hope to inspire cadets to commit to the values of the academy by challenging them to create a self-policing ethic and developing their peers to become outstanding role models for the community. Research has demonstrated that using transactions can at best produce compliance, whereas a transformational approach is much more likely to lead to commitment. Our proposed changes will work towards implementing inspirational motivation, referent power, and coaching. Inspirational motivation involves communicating high expectations in order to inspire commitment to a shared vision. Referent power is a personal base of power, which is the influence one has based on the respect one has earned. Lastly, coaching involves forging relationships, setting goals, creating development plans, promoting persistence, and transferring knowledge to followers. Tours represent a transactional component of the current system, which we have already demonstrated does not produce compliance, but rather results in resistance from cadets. Therefore, our first change addresses improving this component of the system. We propose capping the number of tours at 30 and replacing the lost hours with required cadet service leadership, or CSL, hours.
Incorporating CSL, or Cadet Service Leadership, as a replacement for the current tours requirement would be an effective means to realign the cadets on probation with the desired goals of the probation. CSL hours could effectively restore cadets to the values of an officer candidate ready for commission upon graduation. The principle of tying an individual's goals to the goals of a group is called idealized influence. Idealized influence can be obtained by cadets on probation by performing CSL hours because The mandatory CSL hours will be to perform beautification of the community or work with the homeless. In both cases, the cadets will learn the importance of community involvement as well as the wingman concept. This will put their actions into perspective while allowing them to see the positive impact they can have on others as a military individual. When performing CSL hours, these cadets on probation will see that people look up to them because of their role in the community as a military member. Cadets will find that they are viewed as servicemen and women at all times in the eyes of the community, and as such will be deterred from breaking the law as they did before. This deterrence will come from the fact that they see themselves as professionals with a self-policing ethic. This ethic is their internal strive to do their best in and outside of their jobs.
In addition, we suggest doubling the number of mentorship sessions, keeping the permanent party member sessions, but also completing the same number of sessions with a cadet they already have a relationship based on referent power. This differs from the current system because we're implementing coaching through this peer-to-peer relationship that is already set up to have strong influence on the cadet on probation. Through CSL hours, tours, and mentoring, we hope cadets will realize their position as role models in our community and understand the risks associated with unacceptable alcohol use. As cadets begin to understand they are role models and the dangers alcohol poses, we believe this will create inspirational motivation to instill a stronger self-policing ethic among the wing. This will first happen through cadets internalizing these rules and values, and then by holding their peers accountable.